Start the meeting. Can the meeting come to order, the Finance and Admin Committee? So have a roll call, please.
Director Daniels,
Present.
Director Paul,
Here.
Chair Riley.
Here.
And just for the record, Director Paul is attending as the alternate today.
Thank you. Any corrections or additions to the agenda?
No.
No. Okay. Any comment online, or I see none here?
Correct. We have no members of the public in attendance.
Okay, we'll be back at the committee. So let's move this along. Okay, so action item number 1, adoption of the minutes of the last meeting. Any comments or changes, suggestions from the committee members?
No.
No. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second, just move it, okay. You weren't here. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. The second item is the treasurer's report for September, which is the first month of the new water year, right? Or fiscal year, or all those years?
Close. Last month of the water year and last month of the first quarter of the fiscal year too.
Okay. Okay.
Good afternoon, Chair Riley, members of the committee. I'll be going over the next series of staff reports, starting with the monthly treasurer's report. This is for the month of September, and just big picture in terms of cash and investments, we stayed around 32 million across our bank accounts and our investment accounts. Even though if you look at the revenues and expenditures or the money coming in and going out, there was a movement of 5 million during the month. So as you can see here, we started the month of September with 32 million in cash and investments and ended the month with 31.6 million. We received fee deposits of about 5 million, 5.05 million, and had disbursements of about 5.45 million. Now, a detailed listing of these disbursements is shown in Exhibit 2B. But just to give you a high-level overview, we received some big grant payments or reimbursements from the state for the Pure Water Monterey project, and those were to the tune of about 3.5 million during the month of September. So that's causing the big change. And plus we had a sale of about 1.3 million for the Pure Water Monterey water. So we sold that to CalAm, and we also purchased that water from Monterey One. So that almost accounts for the 5 million that you see here. And then other than that, all the granular details are in Exhibit 2B, and then there's a statement of revenues and expenditures, which is Exhibit 2C, which we will also cover in the next staff item, the quarterly investment report. So that's the summary. I'm happy to take questions.
So I have a couple questions.
Yes.
The way that we pay our bills,
Mhm.
it's just the kind of information. I'm on page 15. Is that still in item 2 here? I mean, item B, 2B?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on item 15. So the 3 categories are regular checks, bank checks, and virtual payments. And what separates some vendors and why are there?
Yeah, this is, excuse me. The separation is based on how we are paying the vendors. So when it's a bank draft, it's like a
I
ETF.
know what they are,
Mhm.
kind of, but why are they that way? Is it the source of the?
It's the source. So if we write a check in-house for a grant payment, that's a printed check, which we printed here and gave it to Monterey One Water. So that's shown as a regular payment. Everything else, where we use a third-party provider, so we send a batch of payments to them and then they pay all the other vendors. Those are virtual payments. And then bank drafts are mostly like AT&T and IRS payments where we actually go into their website and then pay them. So it's just the type of payments that's kind of different across the.
No requirement. It's just the way the system is designed and the payment system
Yeah,
is structured.
it depends on how the vendor wants to be paid most of the time. So IRS would want us to pay them electronically, and so we do that. Most of the utilities, like CalPERS and such, and other government agencies also electronic payments. But then most of the smaller vendors, those are either through a third-party provider or an in-house check.
Okay, so, yeah.
It's based on their preference, how they want to be paid.
Okay, fair enough. That was my only question, I think. Oh, no, I had another question. Does any other committee member have a question that I can, okay,
Go for it.
I'll keep going. I'm on page 17 now, and I'm looking at investment income, which is in the top category of revenue, near the bottom, investment income.
Yes.
Is that all interest payments from our investments or what?
Yes, that's true. Now, we don't get our interest payments at, right away. There's a 30 day to 45-day lag. So for instance, all the interest income from LAIF, Local Agency Investment Fund, hasn't been booked yet. And so once that isn't booked, we'll be close to like the year-to-date budget for that line item.
I just wanted to clarify the
It includes
stating of it,
everything.
but it's interest payments on what our variety of investments are.
Exactly.
Okay. And that's all the questions I have, is just try to understand a little more. If there are no other questions from the committee, I will move that we accept this report and request the board approve it.
I will second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next is the first quarter financial act. There it is. Excuse me, I'm just laughing at myself. First quarter financial activity statement.
Yes, this is for the current fiscal year, Q1. And this is for activity between July 1 of this year and September 30th. And here we have 3 exhibits to the staff report. This is Exhibit A. This is comparing the year-to-date budget with the year-to-date actuals, both for revenues and expenditures. For the year-to-date budget, we just prorate our total budget. So we take our total budget and that's the 25% of our total budget is considered as Q1 budget. So that comes to about 11.6 million, and then we're comparing the actual revenues and expenditures. So as you can see here, for revenues, we received about 51% of our year-to-date budget, and for expenditures, it's about 47%. I think it's not seen on the screen, but it's okay. It's kind of hidden behind that. And so I'll just go over the big variances. This is Exhibit B. We are comparing the year-to-date budget in red with the year-to-date actual revenues received in blue across the various revenue streams.
Just so you know, excuse me, just so
Yes.
you know, you have a color coded, we have black and white. So we're in
Yes.
blue. Look up, George, look up. I'm with you.
I could have used the black and white one too. I think for printing, it's easier for black and white. I like color, but you can do black and white.
I'm sorry, I slowed that down.
That's not good. So going from left to right, we receive property taxes in 3 installments: December, April, and July. So the first installment hasn't yet been received, and therefore we have no actuals for property taxes. User fees is about 70% of year-to-date budget, and that's because this includes only 2 months, July and August, whereas the year-to-date budget includes 3 months for the full quarter. The water sales, which is a big portion of our budget, this includes 3 months of water sales. However, the current year budget for pure water monitor water sales includes water that will be sold through the expansion. And so we hope to sell about 4,800 acre feet of water this year, as opposed to previous years where we only sold about 3,500 acre feet. And that expansion is supposed to start in November of this year. And so the actuals will increase over time. Capacity fees, a much smaller portion of our revenue in total, but that's about 300%. That's because we have a few large construction projects, including the new terminal at the Monterey Airport. And I think there's a conversion of an office building, and there are a few other commercial projects. So that's causing the increase. And we're a little conservative in estimating the budget for capacity fees. It's nice to be surprised and get more than what we budgeted. Permit fees is similar, tied to the construction activity. Interest revenue, we haven't received interest from LAIF, but once we receive it, I think we should be pretty close to year-to-date budget. Reimbursements, these are billed on a quarterly schedule. So these are reimbursements for the ASR project, Water Master, rebates and such. So we should catch up on these reimbursements over time. And then grant billing, this is for the 2 big grants that we have for, again, the Water Monterey expansion project, one for one from Urban Community Drought, and then the State Water Resources Control Board. These 2 grants are billed on a quarterly basis, but we expect to receive about 3.8 million from the state. And once we get those funds, we should be pretty close to the year-to-date budget for the grants.
This is perhaps, may I ask?
Go ahead, sure.
A silly question, but I just want to be clear. The year-to-date revenue projections, the budget, is that budget for the full 25-26 or just the portion of 2025-2026, just quarter one projection?
Just quarter one. What you see on these slides is we took the total budget across these revenue line items and divided it by 4.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only
Got it. It's a
25%,
the revenue
yeah.
projection as well as the year-to-date revenue next to it. Okay.
yeah. And the big variances happen because there's difference in timing of revenues and expenditures. Like our revenue, we don't get our revenues evenly across every month. And so all that variance is just happening from when money is received.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Okay, sure.
The grant money that we're expecting, is that all from state funds? Or is
This
that,
is all from state funds. The 2 grants, one from Department of Drinking Water and the other from the State Water Resources Control Board.
Great.
so we're pretty certain those funds are gonna.
Oh, yes.
And, okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, those are in federal funds, so no impact from what's happening at the federal level.
Thank you.
And then reserves are booked towards the end of the fiscal year. So that's the revenue side. The expenditure side is a little more simpler. And the way that I like to review this is the first 2 columns are our operating expenditures. So that's personnel, services, and supplies. And that's tracking our year-to-date budget. And then the project expenditures, this big line, that includes the purchase of water and the grants combined. So once we get the grant funding, we should almost be at 80% of our year-to-date budget for project expenditures. And then election expenses, that will happen towards the end of the year. We'll receive a bill from the county. Contingency and reserves again booked towards the end of the year. Our personnel expenditures are higher because we pay a payment to CalPERS for our unfunded accrued liability at the beginning of the year. And so this evens out as we progress throughout the year.
Is that a one-time annual payment?
Yeah, it's a one-time annual payment in the order of around 600 to 700,000.
So just out of curiosity, even when we don't have an election on the ballot, is there an annual fee that goes to the elections department?
No, they bill us based on actual expenses.
Okay,
And this time around, there are 3 districts that will have elections in, so that's based on our historic spending.
but won't those be in November of 2026?
Yes, the election happens then, and then I think we receive the billing way later in the fiscal year for
Okay.
some reason.
So it still falls in this fiscal year?
Yeah,
Got it.
Yeah, because we register with them that we're gonna have an election,
Mm-hmm.
and then they know in advance, therefore.
yeah, exactly. So that's a summary. So in a nutshell, we are tracking our operating expenditures. We are a little behind on the project expenditures, but we hope to catch up as we progress, through the fiscal year. And,
That grant throughout this fiscal year, those grants should be closed out by the end, right?
yeah, our contract, I think ends on April of this fiscal year, and we are anticipating that, we'll make the final payment for the grants this fiscal year. And that's the report.
Okay, and this is another report that goes to the board for approval?
It will be a consent item on the board
Okay,
agenda.
so any other comments or questions? Okay, I move approval of this report and forwarding it to the board for approval.
Thank you.
Really mean approval, right?
No, I don't know what I mean, acceptance. Accept, or
Yeah,
receive the report, I guess, okay.
exactly. Second,
All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, item number 4.
Excuse me, Chair Riley, was that a motion by Director Paul and second by Daniels?
Recommend by me, second
Okay.
by Daniels.
Thank you.
Okay. So this is the investment report?
Yes, so this is the quarterly investment report for the first quarter of this fiscal year. And this time around, I thought it would be nice to have a pie chart. This is the breakdown of our investments across the various accounts. And as you can see here, more than half of our investments are with Life. And then California Class is at 3%. And between Life and Class, we have been getting a pretty good yield of more than 4%, at least through the end of the first quarter. And then about 1/3 of our portfolio is with multi-bank securities. And this is where we have all the bank CDs and government bonds. And then the rest of the portfolio, which is about 15%, is spread across the checking and money market accounts. I thought this slide might be a good slide to show that our investments are very well diversified across the different portfolios that we have. So towards the left, we have Life, and then towards the top right, we have multi-bank securities, and then bottom right is California Class. For Life, you can see, most of the investments are in treasuries and government agencies. And then for multi-bank securities, we have about 35 bank CDs. So that's about 90% of our portfolio with MBS. And then the remaining 7% is government bonds. And then California Class, they seem to be even more well diversified than Life, but they have a combination of government agencies, money market accounts, asset-backed securities, treasuries, and commercial paper. Yeah. Can you make that happen? Let's see. I think, oh, there you go.
Just looks like something was cut off, yeah.
Yeah, it's I think that's a legend for what these things mean. So for instance, ABS is asset-backed securities, CP is commercial paper, which is unsecured loans. MMF is probably money market funds, government agencies. Repo is repurchase agreements, treasuries, and then collateralized something, and then bank CDs. And so again, the point of this is, diversification means low risk. And so we're spread across various asset classes. And these portfolios are pretty liquid. So we have high liquidity and low risk. And then the
So if,
pie chart.
so excuse me, if there were an interest in, if our board was interested in kind of aggressively making revenue out of this process,
Mhm.
We would have to change substantially the investment portfolio, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's not smart anyway. I know some public agencies go that direction and have gotten in trouble because of it too. Anyway, I'm glad to see the balance. I just hadn't thought of it in terms of how balanced it was. Appreciate that.
Sure. To your point, I think the direction of the interest rates plays an important role in determining how to allocate across these investment portfolios. And so if interest rates were to drop, the yield that we get from LAIF is going to drop too. And so it might make sense to allocate some of that money to multi-bank securities and let's say, get a 3-year treasury bond. So we will continue to get a 3.5% yield for 3 years when LAIF starts to go down to less than 3 or 2%. So those are some of the decisions that could be made. However, LAIF is very liquid and multi-bank securities isn't. So there's a trade-off. And if for whatever reason, if we need funds, let's say 2 years from now, then if those funds are in a liquid portfolio, then we can withdraw them. So those are some of the considerations that we would have. The big one right now being the interest rates are going down. How do we, what would be our outlook for the portfolio? But our number one consideration remains safety, and number two remains liquidity. And then yield is a distant third, which is based on our investment policy.
I do appreciate your optimism about thinking in 3 years we might need a bunch of money.
I have a question.
Yes.
So about how often do you, look to see if the allocation is about right, or whether there's any good reason to change it up a bit? How often do you review for that?
It depends on where the direction, how soon the interest rates are changing. But we look at our treasurer's report every month, and every month it's a good time for us to see how things are doing. We have we have benefited from really high yields in the last 2 years, and so we didn't feel the need to make changes. We're getting more than 4% without taking on additional risks. So we have been just sitting tight. If that starts to change, then we may start to be a little more opportunistic while making sure that we are following the state law.
Mhm.
And our principles
Yes.
or our priorities.
Arctics, yeah. So that's the report.
Well, I move we recommend that the board approve this report.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Still no public members online or at all? I'm not asking, but I'm asking each time, but I'll ask periodically.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct. We have no members of the public.
okay. Next is item number 5 to receive the annual financial report. This is a lot of document. But I think it's loaded with information. And I'm not going to ask questions about it, but I just want to point out some of the, anyway, first I'll ask questions about, does anybody have a
I
question
think
about the
that
report
we
itself
have a
and or comments
presentation.
and so on? Let's make the presentation. Good.
So I'll preface by saying that we will have a presentation for the board and we'll have the auditors with us. I'll be presenting the financials and the auditors will go over their piece. So this version that that we have for the committee is very abbreviated. I'll just point out to a few things. Number one, there are two exhibits to the staff report. Exhibit B is the board disclosure letter. And then the first exhibit is the annual comprehensive financial report. So the board disclosure letter goes into a number of things. First, it goes into some of the qualitative aspects of the audit, which includes the GASB pronouncements that were implemented as part of this audit, as well as some of the accounting estimates that are in the financial statements. And then it goes over any misstatements that the auditors found, any disagreements with management. And there were no misstatements and no disagreements, as you may have noticed. And I want to say with a smile that, we have a management team that's easy to work with, that is competent, credible, has high integrity, and is agreeable. So the audit went pretty smooth. And we had new auditors, the Prune Group, and just great to work with. So that's Exhibit B. So Exhibit A is the piece which has a lot of information. We have 3 sections as part of the ACFR, as it's called. The introductory section orients the reader. It has a letter of transmittal, what the district does, the governing structure. Then the financial piece has the statements and the notes, and then the statistical section has demographic information and operating information. So this is all given by GASB. They want us to present things in a particular way, and we just follow that recipe. I'll just make one more point. This graph shows the actual revenue and expenditures in fiscal year 23-24 and compares it with the prior fiscal year. So you'll see that the total revenues received were 38 million as opposed to 31 million the year before. Let me see if I can increase the size. Is that better?
Good.
Yeah. So revenues were higher and so were our expenditures. And that resulted in a net change in fund balance, a positive fund balance of 2.8 or 2.9 million at the end of the year. And that gets added to the beginning year fund balance. And so our ending year fund balance is at 28.9 million. Now, if someone's wondering and wants to go into more detail, the increases in revenue, it's mostly coming from increased grant revenues that we received. So as you can see here, we have 9.7 million in grant revenues as opposed to 1.57 million the year before. And our grant revenues went up and our operating revenues, which were the water supply charge, went down. But the net effect was that our revenues were higher. And so if you look at the revenues and expenditures, revenues minus expenditures, we have an addition to the fund balance of 2.9 million. And I'll go into detail at the board meeting. So this is the short-term view, like how did we do in this fiscal year? But there's another way to look at it, which is the long-term view, and that's called the net position. And our net position has actually gone down slightly, and that's because we have a settlement liability for the water supply charge. We'll be paying out 3.3 million this year. So when you look at the big picture, all the liabilities and all the assets, our net position is slightly lower. But if you look at just, this year, fiscal year 24-25 by itself, our fund balance position has increased. I hope that makes sense. But that's the gist of it. We, in spite of the cancellation of the water supply charge, I think the district did fairly well. Because our revenues from user fees were higher than expected. And we also had higher revenues from interest income. And also property taxes by a small margin. So we are in a good shape at this point. And we'll go into more depth at the board meeting. But that's the gist of it.
Okay, I got a few things I want to pursue a little bit, but not in a lot of detail. First of all, they had no management letter to issue for any observations and changes and recommendations and so on.
That would be Exhibit B, which is attached.
149.
Yeah, thank you. The management letter is something that the management signs off and gives to the auditors, and it has a bunch of, it basically says that the management is responsible for putting together the financials, and they are responsible for auditing it and making sure that the financials are fairly represented in all material aspects. So the communication to the board is on page 149.
Right, but they have they're not making any recommendations. That's good news.
That's good.
That's what I
news.
want to point out. Yeah. It's the good news. And the I just want to point this out for the committee or maybe for the staff. I want to go to page 141 or 140, I guess. 141. I'm just kind of flipping through and, reading a little bit and then skipping and jumping ahead and so on. Anyway, I found some very interesting charts here, and I just want to call attention to them because it really gave me a new perspective on just the district, but also the history of our finances and our own management team. So 141 was just a assessed value chart on taxable property, which we normally don't talk about.
Oh,
But here's some very interesting information. I just want to call attention to it. All you guys should go home and kind of just pull this up later and look at it and see, because there's some really interesting information here. So that's point number one. And then I have about 10 points or 5 because I got the 5 pages. Okay, next page. The principal property taxpayers. Very interesting who they are, but also very interesting how little they represent in the big picture of the assessed value in the county. The biggest one is PG&E, and they're less than 1%. Pebble Beach is a little over 1%. This is the far right column I'm looking at on this principal page 142. Anyway, very interesting, but Anil, I do have a question about, does anybody know, we have agriculture. Is this, this is Monterey County. This is countywide. It's countywide. Okay, I was thinking it was district-wide. Now I see the difference. Why is there so much ag here? Anyway, that was my question, but now I see why it's Monterey County. So Monterey County data. Kate? Good stuff here.
I'm seeing it. Thank you.
Demographic economic statistics, just go to the next page. It just shows population, per capita income, and a variety of things. Unemployment rate. Very interesting data. Next
Property
page
taxes
is
went one way and population went another.
Yeah, that's a good observation.
yeah. Yeah, wow. Next page is principal employment. Just very interesting stuff. Very, very interesting stuff.
yes.
And that's all I wanted to call attention to are those 4 or 5 pages.
Wow. Thank you,
It's
George.
just from flipping.
Thank you, George.
I wasn't going to read this for a whole report. Sorry to admit that in public.
Well, I have not had a chance to review this before this meeting. I intend to review it very carefully before the board meeting. If you have questions, can I email you with it?
Yes,
That's-
absolutely.
Yeah. But I agree, these are very interesting. This is very interesting information for a lot of reasons. I just, despite not having reviewed it yet, I do have one question, and that is This is the first time, the first year with the new auditors, is it not?
Yes.
Yes. So any comments, observations, is there, is there anything that, you know, it gives you an opportunity to learn new things or a different kind of insight, or how has the process worked from your point of view?
The process was seamless. They did raise a lot of important questions throughout the audit, and they really kept us on the toes. The way we implemented GASB 101, which is how, like, what should be the appropriate liability for compensated absences, which is, total leaves and sick leaves and all that. They had a very like structured way of approaching it.
Uh-huh.
And so that was helpful. And so they had a slightly different way of approaching it, in my opinion, compared to the previous auditor. And they used what's called the most likely than not. Anyway, so they did have some good things to ponder on, and we've tried to imbibe that in our audit. But we also had the benefit of going through this process once last year, so we were prepared. Like we knew, like these are the questions coming, and let's just have like good responses to that, good backups in terms of samplings and whatnot, because they do ask for samplings for various journal entries, various payments to vendors and whatnot. So it was a good experience for us, but we're also a little better prepared than last year.
Uh-huh. Did they suggest any changes in how we estimate liability for paid time off?
Yes, this is all in the backup. They had elaborate Excel files on. They looked at historical trends and averages and how GASB wants us to. So we have quite a bit of liability that's arising from tier 1 employees, and you'll probably see it here. That liability is about $1 million.
Mhm.
And as a result of those discussions, we in fact proposed a change in our reserves. So this is an item that is also proposed for the coming board meeting. And so because we look at, okay, these are our liabilities and this is how we should be positioning ourselves. So there were some good things that came out of that discussion, and we try to incorporate that in how we look at risk
Good. Good. Thank you.
and liabilities.
Good. Good to hear.
Yes.
Good to hear. So what do we do with this report? We approve the report.
So the full board, and there will be a presentation, and a little more elaborate presentation than what we had. Then from there on, we will finalize this report and then send it to the Government Finance Officers Association. And that would be the end of it.
So you'd be looking for a motion today to recommend approval by the board.
Okay, so that's the motion
Thank
I'm
you.
asking for.
Sorry, I like.
Motion
Rest of this.
to recommend approval by the board. I'll move that.
I'll
And-
second
Good,
it.
okay, we moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Yeah. Well, I know they go to a lot of work and a lot of laymen kind of glaze over. I understand that. I understand. I glaze over a lot. But it's important, I think, that we get some questions answered and get some comfort level about it, even though we might not track all the stuff that's going on.
But I totally agree with you that some of that information, about demographics, population, growth of employment and so on is very relevant to, it's very good for us to know.
Just
The rea-
as a reminder too, yeah, what
Yeah.
we're working with.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
around. Okay, so the next item or the next items are information. What do we do here? Contract. I have no comments or questions about that. I know we keep tracking it, which is good. This is the latest addition to the
Yeah, just,
tally.
There's just one new report, if you may have noticed. Number 8. That's status report on legal services. This,
Let me just slow down a little bit. So I'm looking at information number 6, that's just on contracts. Okay. Information on number 7 is tracking the, I'm sorry, I'm the one that jumped out of line.
Spending.
spending, the spending reports, yeah. And, so, okay, information. Now, item 8. Was there gonna be some comment on this?
Uh, yeah, I just wanted to highlight that this is a new report that hasn't come to the committee or the board in the last 2 years. And this is, I think Director Edwards or perhaps even Director Paul might have recommended this report a while back. And we had it on our to-do list. And we thought this would be an opportune time at the end of the fiscal year to bring it to the board. This shows the total legal expenses across the last 3 years. And as you can see on this slide, which is Exhibit B of that report, that our legal expenses last fiscal year were higher. And a lot of that's related to the payment for the water supply settlement
Hmm.
charge. That's a little over $500,000.
Hmm.
And then we're also picking up on expenses related to Measure J.
Related to, what was that?
Measure J expenses,
Oh,
these are the
okay.
top 2, and then the big one in the middle is the
So
settlement
user
payment.
fee.
So will this be presented to the board for approval, for information?
It would be an
It's
informational item,
Yeah, okay.
with the last 3 are all informational items.
So
Okay.
those, what's included in those legal expenses for, related to the user fee? Is that just like the legal costs, but not it doesn't include any actual reimbursement, right? Of the fees? Or does it?
These are all legal, so it's divided into, and again, the details should be in Exhibit A. So all of our journal expenses through the district attorney, plus other attorneys like Colentano, Shoot Mahali, Rutan, and others.
Okay.
So I think to answer your question, our journal legal expenses include reimbursements, but let me go to that.
But the reimbursements are gonna be around 3 million or something in that neighborhood, right? So they must not be included here. Right,
Yeah.
the reimbursement of the
Reimbursement of,
the user fees and the costs of that.
no, that is the user, yeah, that's good, that's coming out of this year. So we'll be writing checks to the various residents. That reimbursement isn't included here.
Right,
No,
right.
sorry, I misunderstood your
Yeah,
question.
this is just the legal,
This is just what we pay the attorney
legal,
for settling the claims, yeah.
yeah,
And
and the litigation around the user fee, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
I call it the water supply charge, but I was sorry, the user fee was like tripping me off, so, yeah.
The water supply charge is what we should have been talking
Yeah.
about, yeah.
yeah, well, thanks for this additional report. Thanks for asking, because
Mhm.
it just adds perspective that we should all have. Okay, so the last item is the proposed agenda.
May I ask a question about the proposed agenda? Unless there was something you were going to present, I can't remember what it was that we asked to be delayed by a month. I think it the proposed financial policies. Okay, so it's on here. That was what we were hoping would be delayed. Perfect, thank you.
And people were thanking for the delay too.
Yeah, it would have been a long meeting last week, an even longer, last month, an even
Yeah.
longer meeting. I figured that was why we suggested it. Can this one wait?
That was a good call. Not had it on that day.
Okay, Mike, can you want to run through this or?
So. If that would be sort of new director.
Oh, right.
Well, the consent reports that we just had, they will give us a general manager report on with the water that's been used.
Somebody.
I'll give a report on a tour that we gave Sleepy Hollow to some
Division of Drinking Water, staff in late October.
Oh.
And, Mr. Laredo will give his litigation report. Anybody gonna comment on where they went, trips, conferences? We have, ordinance 199 that will have the second reading. Then, you're gonna get a much more detailed financial audit report,
Mhm.
from the auditors themselves and then from the shill. And then to Kate's example of the proposed financial policies, we'll wrap that up as the last action item. And then all the other informational items that you see on are traditional to the agenda. So any other questions?
I'll just add for Karen that the proposed financial policies we've heard twice. We had them presented to us here in this, and then we waited and had them presented again just to really dig
Yeah, because
deeper.
I
into
delayed
them.
it.
Yeah,
Again.
so there's some. There,
Because it required more time to
yeah,
go
yeah.
through it and.
It won't be something just to breeze over.
Yeah.
Just to give you a heads up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And this is about how we invest our.
Reserves.
Like 8 of them.
Mhm.
Yeah, so some are being proposed so that we meet our strategic objectives. These are reserves. What is the optimal level of reserves that we should have? Plus other policies like the debt management policy that is required by state statute
Oh,
and a few more. So there are a total of 5.
well, this is a really interesting.
Those are coming out of your strategic goals, some of them, right?
Yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
including strategies to tackle the pension, retiree healthcare liabilities, like how should the district approach those? We try to put in best practices and stay at the cutting edge and. This is obviously our first attempt and it has gone through, I think, 3 FSC meetings and it's subject to change. Over time, but I think this is the best version that we have.
Uh-huh.
So,
Okay, so I'm catching up. This sounds very,
Yeah.
very substantive. Yeah.
And from my point of view, it's setting up the structure for the future.
Mhm.
It's not to be implemented with money going here and there, so on.
Mhm.
It's for the future,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
they're good foundational pieces
Mhm.
that the district needs. And, some of it's cleanup, like the checks that have been ongoing for years and years and years, and how do you reconcile that? So just a really good, transparent process for just cleaning up some of the issues that have, not just surrounding the financial department, but just putting us on a good foundation to move in the future.
Mhm.
Excellent.
Yeah,
So there's some materials about all the proposals in the agenda.
Either of the last 2 or 3. 3.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, the last board packet should have had that in there,
Mm.
correct?
Yeah,
If it got
so we
moved.
decided to move it to this
Yeah.
board meeting instead of the last one. And so I think July, August, September, those FSC meetings.
Yeah.
A lot of great discussion and I appreciate all the questions that
Mm.
were,
Good.
yeah.
so I have a question over here. With Marianne Gawain coming on board. Is she automatically on the committees that Amy was on? If they're gonna have any meetings between, the new assignments and now?
You would need to appoint her to those committees, you appoint the individuals, and I believe what we do committee assignments, in January anyway, so.
Right, it's all.
Want to hold her back and just keep her as alternates,
No, I think I just soon her take Amy's, whatever those slots are, because there may or may not be a meeting between now and when the
then
new.
that would be something for you to maybe make a statement on when she's sworn in, so that way she knows that what her assignments are.
Okay, well, maybe I'll make a list of them or whatever. Maybe I'll ask for help to make sure I get them all right.
That'd be smart, lean on staff to help you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she's sworn in, you should let her know what committee she's appointed to.
Well, I'd like to know ahead of time too, so no.
Sarah,
Check it with
Sarah
Sarah.
can assist too. She has a list of committee appointments and.
I just want to call attention, this was in the weekly. Still going strong, our outreach effort.
Uh-huh.
It's good to see. I just want to say I noticed. And I appreciate it.
Yes.
All right, nothing more on the good of the
Chair
order,
Riley?
anything like
Chair
that?
Riley?
There is.
Yes,
Chair Riley, Director Gawain was sworn in last week when she came in for the orientation meeting.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so she took her oath of office and she has provided some information to me to get things going, so.
So
I-
officially, she's in.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
can send you her, she created a new email for district business and the phone number for the public and also her personal number, so.
Can you email me the list of committee assignments that Amy has?
Yes,
And then since she's already a member, I'll just email her and say, I'm gonna appoint you now, and then so she'll know right away. If there's
Okay.
any meetings this month or going forward, okay.
So
All
you'll
right.
tell her that it'll all be redone in January.
Right, but I don't know what's happening between here and January.
Yeah.
All the committees.
right,
I mean.
it does take a couple months, yeah.
Okay,
Right.
whatever. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.
Thanks, Sandra.
Well, meeting adjourned. Anybody, anything we should know that I